Hi, my name is Nocti Pham, and for our NAE project, we chose clean water. Water is an important necessity for everyday life, whether it's for drinking or for hygiene purposes. The world is made up mainly of water, but there are so many places around the world today that still do not have access to clean and safe water. So as a result, they depend on water that is contaminated with all kinds of bacteria and diseases. Our project focuses on using existing technology while developing new ones to try and resolve the source for clean and safe water and reducing the number of people without access to it. The data we found relates to NAE challenge because the challenge is to come up with a way for people to get access to clean water and not have it cost so much. Our goal was to organize the data and represent it graphically to compare progress between countries, regions, and population. We could also calculate a projected water availability based on a progress trend and represent that graphically to be compared between population. We came up with a code that lets you choose one location or multiple locations that you want, and it would display the data for drinking water in the area, as well as a way that you could filter and clean the water with multiple methods and steps to do so.
Hello, my name is Rafael Aguilar. I will be covering task 1 for our NAE project, which consists of comparing countries with the use of data. To start off, when you run the section, the first thing you'll see in the command window will be how many populations we'd like to compare. In other words, this is the number of countries you will be comparing to. So you could type in whatever number you want, as there's no limit. Next up, we'll give you a menu of the user searching up the country names. So we have various ways to filter out the country. So we have 4 options. The first option will be by the first letter of the country. The second and third option will be by regions. And the final option will be by the user typing in the country name. And you don't have to worry about how you type in the country, as it's not case sensitive. Then next up will be another menu asking the user what kind of data they want. So by urban, rural, or national. Then next up, it all depends on the user. So depending how many countries you choose, it will keep you asking you the same questions over and over again until that number is met. And then a new menu will open up and it will tell you choose your adventure. And by adventure, we mean by how would you like to compare your data. We have 4 options. We have a line graph, we have trend charts, we have bar graphs, and we have pie charts. And for each graph or chart, there will be a legend with each country being color-coded. And then the most interesting one will be pie charts, as it will start off as 2015, and every time you start closing down the window, it will start decreasing 2014, 2013 until 2000. And then you can slowly see how the country changes, the water quality. And then, so there was a few countries with no data. So we made those equal to 0. So you will see in some of the line graphs or bar graphs, they will be at 0. So that means that there was no data for them. And then that will be it for task 1. Next up will be water purification methods.
Hi, my name is Harry. In the second part, the user is asked whether or not they want to purify water. Assuming they choose yes, they are asked who to purify water for. Their selection will provide the user with options on how to purify water and their corresponding steps to do so. The questions in this part of the code are validated by while loops and menus, while the purifying steps are defined in string arrays.
Hey, my name is Dalton. You can follow me on Instagram at DalDal2, and I'm here to walk you through some test cases for part 1 of our project. We're going to run our program, and we're going to say we want to compare 2 populations. For my first population, I'm going to search by UNICEF region, and I'm going to pick East Asia and Pacific. Within this region, I'm going to choose Thailand. And within Thailand, I'm going to choose rural populations. For our second population, I'm going to search by first letter. I'm going to pick H. I'm going to pick Honduras, and then I'm also going to pick rural for Honduras. Now it's time to choose your adventure, and I'm going to pick trend charts. and up pop these two colorful, beautiful, handcrafted by Harry Dao trend charts. I can see from these charts that Thailand's rural population has gone from about 7% of them drinking from unimproved water sources in 2000 to only about 1 or 2% of them drinking from unimproved water sources in 2015. Honduras in 2000 had about 22% of their population drinking from surface water, and in 2015 that had decreased all the way down to less than 5%. For our second test case, I'm going to pick 3 countries, and I'm going to search by comparing strings. I'm going to type YE, and I'm going to pick Yemen. I'm going to select rural Yemen. For my second one, I'm going to search by string comparison, type AF, pick Afghanistan, pick rural Afghanistan, and for my third one, I'm going to type GE, and I'm going to select Nigeria and rural Nigeria. Now that I've got my populations, I want to pick a line graph this time. Since we picked line graph, I have to choose a parameter of interest. My options are at least basic, limited, unimproved, or surface water. So for Yemen, I'm going to pick limited. And since I picked limited, I have the option to pick limited or better, limited or worse, or just limited, and I'm going to pick limited or better. So that'll include limited access and also at least basic access. I'm going to choose the same one for Afghanistan, limited and then limited or better. And for rural Nigeria, I'm just going to select at least basic. And that produces a line graph that shows the progression of those parameters that we chose from 2000 to 2015, depending on what we have data for. And we have a blue line for Yemen, red line for Afghanistan, and a yellow line for Nigeria. That's it for our test cases. I'm going to pass the mic to my man, Eugene.
The purpose of this session is to provide a user with some basic methods of water purification, with emphasis on purifying water for the household and the community. The user is asked if he or she would like to purify water. If user chooses to purify water, he or she is asked who he or she is purifying water for, and a set of methods is proposed based on the response to the above questions. For example, if user chooses to purify water for their household, 3 methods of purification, which are boiling, slow sand filtration, and domestic chlorination, are suggested for the user to choose a method from amongst. Based on the method chosen, the purification steps to follow are then displayed on the command window and may be accompanied by a schematic diagram illustrating the setup. A warning is also issued as to the limitation of the method, and depending on the nature of water being purified, more than one method may be required. In case of domestic chlorination, the amount of chlorine to be added to the water depends on the amount of water being purified and may range from few drops to several teaspoons of chlorine. On the other hand, if user chooses to purify water for the community, this system of purification is a little more complex and will be illustrated diagrammatically. A summary of each of the processes is displayed on the command window. It should be noted that water purification at this level is more difficult and complex and encompasses several methods of purification all put together as one. This marks the end of this session of our work, and we will turn over to Harry for the limitations that we have faced throughout this work. Harry?
From an engineering perspective, this code can provide useful insight into a country's population in order to allow engineers to cater their designs towards each demographic's need by graphical analysis. These needs could include cost, size, material, and much more. The code can't be used on other datasets due to its hard-coded regional and country names, which are dependent upon international and current events, and would require manual sorting. Thus, it's necessary to update these every 6 months or at least yearly. Also, the code can't provide projections into the future for engineers. However, the graphs can aid in the extrapolation process. Nevertheless, we hope that our code will help engineers and others tackle the global challenge of clean water. This has been our presentation. Thanks for watching.